Welcome to the channel that likes to talk about the things that drives everybody crazy but nobody talks about. One of the big issues that dealing with a lot more is corrupted video files. Welcome to the channel that likes to talk about things that nobody else does because there's no affiliate money to be made about talking about things like this, but it's really important. Everybody's got these problems, and one of them is corrupted video files. Today I'm going to tell you how to fix them if it's possible, what causes it, and how to make sure it doesn't happen again. Now, one of the big reasons this is happening a lot lately is because more and more people are obsessed with shooting 4K 60 and 10-bit 422. Do you know how much information has to get recorded onto that card by that camera? It is so much information, it's insane. Now, a lot of people are recording H.265, which out of the factory is usually 10-bit 422, and that's a lot of information, especially at 4K 60. H.264, on the other hand, is usually 8-bit 420 out of the factory, and that's a lot easier on the camera. So if you can make that change, that'd be a good one to do, unless you're obsessed, unless you're doing green screen or you're obsessed with 10-bit 422, which for YouTube, come on, I mean, you don't need that. Another thing is they may obviously shoot 4K 30 instead of 60 if you can. If people are just so obsessed with like the latest specs and shooting everything at the maximum amount that's possible. Well, let's say you have a corrupted file. First, let's make sure it's corrupted. Put it into VLC Media Player and scrub through it. And if you do see the glitch, then it is the corruption is baked into the file. So recopy the file from the SD card to the computer, see if that fixes it, because sometimes the transfer itself can corrupt things. If it's still bad, then take the entire DCIM folder from the SD card and put that into the computer, because there are invisible files within that DCIM folder that your reader can use to understand the file more. So you can't see them, but there's files in there that do help your computer read that video file better. So transfer the entire, everything that's in there, all the folders, everything into your DCIM into your computer. If it still doesn't work, then I suggest, do this anyway, it helps, is to convert your video file to ProRes 422 or what was it, DNxHR, whatever that is. Those are easier to read for your computer. A lot of GPUs do not like H.265 because it is 10-bit 422. And it's just too much for them. They can't handle it. GPUs, in other words, your video card in your computer, they can handle H.264 pretty good because it is usually, like I said, 8-bit 420. So that's not a problem. But it could be once you get into the 10-bit 422 range, H.265, that's where the problems start, especially when you're at 4K 60. That's a lot of information. I'll get to the the SD card in a second there. But and another thing is variable frame rate. A lot of cameras, some cameras, cinema cameras can do variable frame rate, which makes your editing timeline not understand, what is this? What's the frame rate? I don't get it. You know, and not only that, let's say you're shooting 4K 60 and your camera buffer is going crazy and overheating, trying to cram all that information in your SD card. Your 60 frames a second is going to go 50, 40, 30, 10, 0, 20, 40, 60, you know, whatever it is. It's going to be all over the place. And that's going to be a really hard thing for your video card to be able to read what that is. So you might want to convert it, change it into a constant frame rate. And you can use a program called Shutter Encoder for doing that. But let's say your thing is corrupted. And so you're going to have to fix it. One great way to fix it, this is a really good program. It's really simple. It's free. You can download it. It's called ffmpeg. Go to ffmpeg, download it, the zip file or the 7-zip file. It's free. Open it up and drag your video clip into the same folder as the ffmpeg.exe. Make sure those two, they have to be in the same folder for this to work. Now take this line of code right here. I'll put all this down in the description box below and replace your movie.mp4 with the real file name. Make sure your directory, your C ... everything is correct. And then copy that line of code, hold shift and right click in an empty spot on the screen, and then choose Open PowerShell window here. Paste in the code and push enter, and in this is amazing, in just a few seconds this thing will run through your entire video file, even if it's an hour long, in just a few seconds. It's not going to fix the glitches, but it will make it so your editing program can jump over the glitches and not hang up on it and freeze or crash. It'll just keep going. It'll just keep playing. So that's a really good one to have. There's another app out there that is intended for rescuing files that have been accidentally deleted. Because once you put something in the garbage can, it starts getting shredded apart into different pieces. Well, what this does is it's called EaseUS. It puts the pieces back together and it rebuilds a file. It doesn't have to be in the garbage. You can use it on a file that's actually on your computer. So that you can try that too. That kind of works sometimes, pretty cool. So that's one thing to do. And another thing to do is if you're rebuilding files, do it multiple times, because some of these things, they rebuild in different areas. In other words, it might be still glitchy here, but the second rebuild will be okay in that area. So I like to put them on top of each other in a timeline and then pick the best parts from each rebuild. And pretty soon you can maybe get a whole thing together that is one good file. But the best thing, obviously, is to make sure you're shooting, to make sure it doesn't happen in the first place. And one of the big problems is your SD card. If you're shooting 4K 60, especially 10-bit 422 or H.265, that is so much information being crammed into there, and it's gonna, your card's gonna overheat, and that's gonna be it's gonna melt down your card after a while, and it's become unstable, and you're gonna have these issues. So your card could be going bad. One way to tell if your card's going bad is to put it into your timeline and look at the audio. If the audio track is maxing out in certain areas for like 5 or 10 seconds at a time, and if you listen to it, it sounds like loud scratching noises, that means your entire data flow is corrupted, and that means it's not just a video glitch. That means your entire data flow is corrupt. That means your card is probably shot. That's a good way to tell if your card is shot. There are apps out there that can test your card, but that's a good way to tell right there. Especially if you're running 4K 60, 10-bit 422 a lot, it's going to fry your card after a while, and you're going to need a new card. So anyway, that takes me to another thing. Cards will be good for a while doing this. I mean, I've been shooting 4K 60 for a while on the Fuji, and it does overheat after a while, and the card does have to be replaced. We can tell again by the bad audio track. What card do you use? What cards hold out the best? It's not just the brand. People think, oh, if I get Angel Bird or ProGrade or Delkin, it's going to be a great card and it'll last forever. No. What people are looking at the wrong thing. When they look at a card, they look at the 300 megabytes per second or the 250 megabytes per second. That's not the number you should be looking at. What you should be looking at is the V number. See where it says V60 on here? That means it is a 60 megabyte per second minimum sustained rate. And that is right at the edge of what 4K 60 10-bit 422 is. That's right there at the edge. And if you run this thing for 20 minutes or a half hour, it's going to hiccup. It's going to bog down, and that is part of the problem right there. You can't use a V60 for 4K 60, especially 10-bit 422. You need a V90. I know it's more expensive, but that's what you need to do if you're shooting 4K 60. Now, 4K 60 H.264, it might work because it's 8-bit 420, but after a while, that's still a lot of information, and it still will probably overheat and fry your card after a while. 1080 is fine, but not 4K 60. 4K 30 at the H.264, your card will last a lot longer that way. But everybody wants 4K 60, 10-bit 422. Okay, well then you need a better card. You need a V90, and it needs to be a really good brand. And a lot of people, they spend so much money on their camera, they spend so much money on their lenses, but they cheap out on the card. And they think they claim they're not. They go, oh, no, I got a good card. I got it on Amazon. Yeah, you're trying to save money getting it. That is the worst place to get a card. SD cards on Amazon are almost guaranteed to be counterfeits. That is the biggest place to get scam cards. It is like the word, do not buy SD cards on Amazon. If you want good video files, get it from the manufacturer or B&H or Adorama or a film specialty place like Film Tools. Make sure you get the real thing from a trusted place. The best brands to get for V90s are Sony Tough V90. That's ultra durable. It's pricey, but it's reliable. Angelbird AV Pro V90, very popular for cinema use. Pro Grade Digital V90, good balance of price and performance. Delkin Power Black V90, it's also highly rated in pro video circles. So those are really good. You know, Pro Grade, Angelbird, Delkin, Sony, those are really good. And again, don't get them off of Amazon, okay? You're gonna almost guarantee to get something counterfeit off of there. I mean, just like batteries and cables and everything else. Make sure that before you shoot a important video with your camera, make sure your card is formatted. I mean, do not have other files on that card, because this big file that it's going to create is going to have to create around, it's going to have to work around the other files, and it's going to have to put a bit here, a little bit there, it's going to break it up into different pieces because your other things are in the way. It's going to have to step over the other one. So wipe out your card, format it if you're going to do an important video, especially 4K 60, so it has one straight shot to record it. Make sure that's good. And again, if you're having issues, H.264 instead of 265, 8-bit 420 instead of 10-bit 422. Again, your card might be good. Your video file might be good. Everything might be great. But again, your computer, your GPU, your video card, a lot of them have trouble with 4K 60, 10-bit 422, H.265. So just keep that in mind. I mean, if you can do 4K 30 instead of 60, that cuts the data in half right there. Makes it a lot easier. 264 is a lot easier than 265. And if you're still having problems, then do an external recorder like a Ninja. Even the original Ninja 5 can handle 4K 60, 10-bit 422. That's great right there. I mean, you don't have to worry about anything if you do that. You're just going to get bigger file sizes. But even if it's ProRes 422, that thing is it's going to play easier on your computer than a lot of times H.265, even though it's going to be a huge file size. But anyway, so yeah, so there you go. That's the big thing, is your SD card is probably melting from trying to run 4K 60. And don't be so obsessed with spec unless you're doing green screen. If you're doing this for YouTube, you're way overkilling it. I mean, I'm doing 1080 most of my stuff on YouTube. You know, 8-bit 420 is fine for YouTube. I mean, especially middle-aged men, they're so obsessed with specs. Gotta have the best, because that's what's going to make my video great. No, it won't. What's going to make your video great is you being interesting to the people you're talking to. Be an interesting person. Don't worry about having the best specs of everything. You're frying your damn card. Give your camera a rest. Jeez. Anyway, so that's it. I hope you got something out of this. You know, nobody wants to have corrupted. Go through all the work of setting up a great video and having a great talk, and then you can't even use the file because it's corrupted. Nobody wants that. So here you go. I'm talking about the things that don't make me any affiliate money, but I'm talking about it because it's stuff we both need to hear, right? Right. Okay. Tell your friends about Marcus Fix. Actually, you don't have to. I don't care. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.